Okay, this one is not really harder. It's actually just putting things in a slightly different context. So let's read it very carefully. Make sure we understand what the matrices represent, because they represent something. Matrix A represents the shipment of vehicles at a local auto dealership at the beginning of July. I'm going to just stop right there. Sometimes when I'm reading and I get a little overwhelmed with what it says, I like to just stop, take it all in. Matrix A, where's Matrix A? Here it is. And we're dealing with a shipment of vehicles. So we have cars, trucks, and SUVs. I'm sounding like I'm on a commercial. We have cars, trucks, SUVs, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. And that does give me the breakdown of what I have here. So like I had 7 cars total, or if I add this column, I have 8 vehicles total that were four-wheel drive, okay? So that was the first sentence. Matrix B represents the amount of vehicles sold from this shipment by the end of the month. So by the end of July, at the beginning of July, they get this. By the end of July, they've sold this from that shipment. They probably had other stuff too, but we're just talking about those. Listed are the vehicle types as well as if the vehicle is two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, okay? So here's what we brought in and here's what we sold. So sometimes it might come in handy to write those things down just so we really can answer questions like, what does it represent, okay? So this is what I got. So this was my shipment. And if you want to really abbreviate or like condense your thoughts, you can. This was in. This is what I got in. I'm running the dealership, the truck pulls in and they bring this. It'd be more than one truck if it's all those. And this is what I sold, so this went out, okay? And if you wanna just think of it like that, that's cool. So what is A minus B and what does it represent? Well, let's talk about a few other slightly obvious things. A minus B, well, I have 3 rows and 2 columns, 3 by 2 here, and then B is, well, 3 rows and 2 columns. And what I have not yet said, but I'm going to say it now, and it's important, so I'm going to write it in red, is I cannot add or subtract matrices unless they have the exact same dimensions. And in the context of a word problem, those things should represent the same thing. So if I have cars, trucks, and SUVs here, and then I have cars, trucks, and tractor trailers here, like those are different. Like I really couldn't do that. But for now, we're just going to keep it simple and say the dimensions must be the same. So here we go. Big idea. It's going to happen right over here in the margin. And I'll say it like this. I cannot, no matter how hard I try, add or subtract matrices unless they have the same dimensions. Okay, so one more time. What that means is this. If I was to give you a matrix that was 3 by 2, and then I said, hey, I want you to add this to this one, and it's a 3 by, let's make something up, 3 by 5. A 3 by 2 and a 3 by 5. Whoa, they don't have the same dimensions. They have to have same number of rows, same number of columns. These numbers have to be the same. These numbers have to be the same. That is super important. And we're going to talk about that more as we go along. That's a huge idea right there. Because there will be times where I would look at this and say, oh, I can't do the operation because the rows don't match up, the columns don't match up. Okay, back on topic. What is A minus B and what does it represent? So A minus B would be what I brought in minus what I took out. So here it is. I get a shipment of vehicles and then I'm going to sell some of them. And so A minus B is what I have left. So I've actually answered the second part of the question without even doing A minus B. So I'm actually going to jump ahead. Let's do that. Use a purple pen. I don't know why. What does it represent? What does it represent? It's bad grammar. A minus B represents the vehicles that remain from the July shipment. Okay, so I get the vehicles in, shipment. I'm having a hard time spelling basic words because I'm saying one thing and writing another. I get some vehicles in, I sell some, and that's what's left over. Well, let me actually do it. And again, on the very first one, we wrote it all out and we were like, 6 plus 3 is 9. I'm bored. 6 plus 4 is 10. Still bored. Let's not do that this time. Let's just go ahead and start cranking it out. But here goes. 3 by 2, 3 by 2, they're the same dimensions, we're good to go. So whatever is about to happen here is going to be 3 rows, 2 columns. If necessary, you could be like, I got my 3 rows, I got my 2 columns. There we go. That's it. This is going to be A minus B. So let's do it, and let's do it in our head, but just be careful. Make sure you're watching my fingers to know where I'm pointing. Let me zoom in just a little bit. There we go. 6 minus 4. I mean, no one is surprised at what 6 minus 4 is. We're just representing things a different way. 6 minus 4 is 2. Let's move down. 1 minus 1 is 0. Let's talk about that really quickly. I got one truck that was a 2-wheel drive. I sold it. I have no more 2-wheel drive trucks on the lot, not from that shipment anyway. All right, 2 minus 2, 0. I have no more 2-wheel drive SUVs. All right, I had one 4-wheel drive car. I sold it. 1 minus 1 is 0. 3 minus 2 is 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. I still have 3 of these. Those are SUVs, see? I have 3 SUVs that are in this column, which was 4-wheel drive. So this organizes things very well. Okay, let's answer number 6. And this is where things get a little bit tricky. And it says, what is 12A? And I'm actually going to write out what's going on here, and then we'll talk about what it represents. 12A, this is multiplication. And I'm not going to call it multiplication. I'm going to call it what it really is. This is called scalar multiplication. Okay, scalar meaning, well, let me write it out. So this is scalar multiplication. And it really means this. I'm scaling something up or down, like on a map, like 1 mile is represented by 1/4 of an inch or whatever. So we are scaling it up or scaling it down. In this case, we're scaling it up because we're going to take this shipment and multiply it by 12, which for me means that if this is a normal shipment every month, like this was my July shipment, and I multiply it by 12, then that tells me what in 1 year, my annual shipment would normally be. That's a lot of assumptions in there, but that's kind of the main idea. So let's write it out. This is super easy. Just make sure you know what you're doing. So what is 12A? 12A would be, well, 12 times A. And I'm going to write A. I'm going to actually write the workout this time. So a 6, 1, 1, 3, 2, 4. And I really don't want you to make this harder than it is. Trust me, it's not nearly as hard as you may think. This is a 3 by 2 matrix. Whatever is about to happen, I better get a 3 by 2 matrix. Now, in the next lesson, things change a little bit. But in just a moment, I'm going to have 3 rows, 2 columns, and that'll be it. Okay? So we're just going to multiply. Back in the day, you did the distributive property. We're doing the same thing here. It just doesn't have pluses and minuses in it, right? Okay, so 12 times 6. Whatever 12 times 6 is. So I'm going to put that here. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. Okay? That's what we're doing. That's it. 12 times 1. Now, again, 12 times 1. This 1 was in the top right, so put your answer in the top right. It's 12. 12 times 3 is 36. That was in the far right in the middle, so put it in the far right in the middle. 12 times 4 is 48. So what does it represent? I'm going to write that out in words, and it represents this. This represents 12 times the July shipment. And this is not a safe assumption, but I'm going to write it anyway. If July is kind of what happens every month, if that kind of shipment is what happens, then this is probably the annual shipment. So in parentheses, possibly the annual, so 1 year, annual shipment. Now that is a big assumption because people buy cars more at different times of the year than at other times. Okay, these next 5 are going to be in the next video.